The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of decay. The once vibrant city streets now lay in ruin, a testament to humanity's neglect. Trash littered every corner, and the buildings, once symbols of progress, now stood as decaying monuments to a forgotten era. The smog was so dense that it seemed to choke the very life out of the city, casting a perpetual shadow over its inhabitants. People moved like ghosts, their faces masked with despair and resignation. The air was not just polluted, it was toxic, a slow poison that seeped into the lungs of every living being. The sky, once a brilliant blue, was now a sickly grey, a constant reminder of the environmental catastrophe that had befallen the world. The sun, a pale ghost behind a veil of smog, offered no warmth. It struggled to penetrate the thick layers of pollution, its rays weak and ineffective. The skyline, once a symbol of human achievement, was now a hazy silhouette, barely visible through the smog. The sun's light, once a source of life and energy, was now a mere shadow of its former self. It cast a cold, eerie glow over the city, adding to the sense of desolation and despair. The days were dark and the nights even darker, as the smog blocked out the stars, leaving the world in a perpetual state of twilight. The sun, once a beacon of hope, was now a reminder of the world's decline. The earth, poisoned and depleted, shuddered under the weight of its billions. The land, once fertile and green, was now barren and lifeless. Dead trees stood like skeletons, their branches reaching out in silent agony. The earth was cracked and dry, unable to sustain life. Pollution had seeped into every corner of the planet, contaminating the soil, water and air. Overpopulation had pushed the planet to its limits, and the environmental damage was irreversible. The cities, once bustling with life, were now overcrowded and suffocating. The infrastructure was crumbling and the resources were dwindling. The Earth, once a vibrant and thriving ecosystem, was now a dying world, struggling to support the life that remained. Famine tightened its grip, crops withered, their skeletal remains mocking the starving masses. The fields, once lush and green, were now dry and barren. The plants, unable to survive in the harsh conditions, had withered and died. The people, desperate for food, scavenged the desolate landscape, their faces gaunt and hollow. The famine was relentless, and the suffering was unimaginable. The once fertile land was now a wasteland, unable to produce the food needed to sustain the population. The famine had spread like a plague, affecting every corner of the globe. The people, once full of hope and vitality, were now mere shadows of their former selves, struggling to survive in a world that had turned against them. Desolation stretched across the globe, a bleak tapestry of despair. The cities, once vibrant and full of life, were now abandoned and in ruins. The streets were empty, and the buildings were crumbling. The world had become a desolate wasteland, devoid of life and hope. The desolation was all-encompassing, affecting every aspect of life. The once bustling markets were now empty, and the parks, once filled with laughter and joy, were now silent and lifeless. The world had become a shadow of its former self, a bleak and empty shell. The desolation was a constant reminder of the world's decline, a testament to the environmental catastrophe that had befallen the planet. Yet, from the ashes of this dying world, a beacon of hope emerged. Amidst the desolation, a small green sprout pushed its way through the cracked earth. It was a symbol of resilience and hope, a sign that life could still find a way. The light broke through the dark clouds, casting a warm glow over the land. A figure stood amidst the destruction, a symbol of hope and determination. The world, though battered and broken, still had a chance for redemption. The sprout was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. The light, though faint, was a beacon of hope, guiding the way towards a brighter future, a promise of salvation, its name, Soylent. In the midst of the despair and desolation, a new hope emerged. Soylent, a revolutionary product, promised to provide the nutrition needed to sustain life. It was a beacon of hope in a world that had lost its way. The product, highlighted by a bright light, stood out against the dark background, a symbol of hope and salvation. Soylent was more than just a product, it was a promise of a better future. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience and determination to survive. In a world that had been brought to its knees, Soylent offered a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is always a way forward. It arrived like a messiah, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of collapse. The cities were crumbling, the skies perpetually darkened by pollution, and the streets filled with the echoes of despair. Soylent was a technological marvel promising nourishment, a revolutionary product designed to address the most pressing issue of our time: hunger. In a world where food scarcity had become the norm, Soylent emerged as a symbol of salvation. It offered a future free from hunger, a vision of a world where no child would go to bed with an empty stomach, where people would no longer look longingly at barren food shelves. Soylent, a simple, flavorless bar, yet packed with all the essential nutrients a human body required. It was engineered with precision, designed to sustain life in the most efficient way possible. Behind its creation were brilliant minds, scientists who had dedicated their lives to solving the problem of malnutrition. They worked tirelessly in their labs, mixing ingredients, testing formulas, and perfecting the product. Gone were the days of dwindling resources, of barren farmlands and empty grocery store shelves. The earth, once cracked and dry, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. No longer would we see emaciated figures with hollow eyes, their ribs visible through their skin, a haunting reminder of the world's failure to feed its people. Hope, once a flickering candle in the wind, roared back to life. The promise of Soylent reignited the flame of optimism in the hearts of millions. The world embraced Soylent, their savior. People celebrated in the streets, their faces alight with joy and relief. It was as if a new era had dawned, one where hunger was a thing of the past. They lined up for miles, eager to get their hands on this miracle product. The lines stretched endlessly, a testament to the desperation and hope that Soylent had inspired. Their faces etched with a desperate hope, they waited patiently, believing that Soylent would be the answer to their prayers. But beneath the surface, an insidious darkness lurked. Unbeknownst to the masses, there were secrets hidden within Soylent's creation, shadows that threatened to unravel the very fabric of this newfound hope. At first, the rumours were dismissed as the desperate whispers of conspiracy theorists, crazy ramblings about strange occurrences within the impenetrable walls of Soylent's factories. Then came the hushed whispers about missing people, their disappearances coinciding with the rise of Soylent. A lone journalist, driven by an insatiable hunger for truth, dared to investigate. He dug deep, venturing into the belly of the beast, determined to expose the truth behind Soylent's miraculous production. The journalist stumbled upon it in the dead of night. He had been following a lead for weeks, a whisper in the wind about something sinister happening in the heart of the city. His instincts told him that this was no ordinary story, and he was right. The alley was dark, the air thick with the scent of decay. His flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. He felt a chill run down his spine as he approached the old, abandoned factory. Little did he know, he was about to uncover a truth that would haunt him forever. A hidden file, buried deep within the factory's network. It took hours of hacking, bypassing layers of security, each more complex than the last. His fingers flew over the keyboard, his eyes scanning lines of code. Finally, he found it, a folder marked with a single word, Soylent. His heart raced as he clicked on it, revealing a series of documents and videos. The deeper he delved, the more his horror grew. This was no ordinary factory. It was a place of nightmares. The truth, when he found it, was far more horrifying than he could have imagined. The videos showed workers in hazmat suits handling what looked like human remains. The documents detailed experiments, gruesome and inhumane. His hands trembled as he read about the process, the transformation of human bodies into something else. He felt sick to his stomach, bile rising in his throat. This was beyond anything he had ever reported on. This was pure evil. Soylent, the miracle food, wasn't synthesized in a lab. It was a lie, a cover-up for something far more sinister. The factory was a front, a facade hiding the true nature of its operations. The machinery, the workers, everything was part of a well-oiled machine designed to turn human remains into food. The scale of it was staggering, the implications terrifying. How many people had unknowingly consumed this product? How many lives had been lost to feed this monstrous operation? It was made from human remains. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He could see it now, the conveyor belts carrying the remains, the workers processing them with cold efficiency. The images were burned into his mind, a nightmare he couldn't escape. He felt a deep sense of dread, knowing that he had uncovered something that could change the world. But with that knowledge came a heavy burden. He had to do something. But what? His blood ran cold as he scrolled through the files, each bite a nail hammered into the coffin of humanity. The more he read, the more he realized the extent of the conspiracy. This wasn't just a rogue operation, it was a well-coordinated effort involving powerful people. The files contained names, dates, transactions, all pointing to a network of corruption and deceit. He felt a sense of hopelessness, knowing that exposing this would be dangerous, but he couldn't turn back now. He had to see it through, no matter the cost. He had to tell the world. He picked up his phone, his hands still shaking, and called his editor. He explained everything, his voice trembling with urgency. They had to act fast, get the story out before anyone could stop them. He spent the next few hours writing, his mind racing. Every word felt like a lifeline, a way to expose the truth. He knew the risks, but he couldn't let fear stop him. This was too important. The world needed to know. But the world, he soon realized, was not ready to listen. The story went live, but the reaction was not what he expected. People were indifferent, dismissive. Some called it a hoax, others a conspiracy theory. He felt a deep sense of frustration, knowing that the truth was out there but no one seemed to care. He had risked everything, but it felt like it was all for nothing. Yet he couldn't give up. He had to keep fighting, keep pushing for the truth, because in the end, the truth was all that mattered. The disappearances escalated, becoming a chilling epidemic. The missing were from all walks of life. The rich, the poor, the powerful, the invisible. Their only commonality: they all ate Soylent. The corporation, a many-headed hydra, tightened its grip on the world. Dissent was silenced. Any voice raised against Soylent swiftly and brutally eradicated. Fear, a venomous serpent, coiled around the hearts of men. Governments, blinded by Soylent's promise of stability and control, turned a blind eye to the atrocities. They became puppets, dancing to the tune of the corporation, their strings woven from greed and the promise of power. The media, bought and paid for, became a mouthpiece for Soylent, weaving a tapestry of lies to conceal the horrifying truth. The world, ensnared in a web of deceit, marched blindly towards its own annihilation. Cannibalistic cycle. The cycle spun faster, a gruesome carousel of consumption and death. Humanity, in its desperation, had become its own worst enemy. They consumed their own, their hunger fueling the very machine that devoured them. The bars, once symbols of hope, now tasted of iron and despair, each bite a silent scream swallowed into the abyss. No escape. The journalist, still clinging to a shred of hope, tried to warn the world. He screamed the truth from the rooftops, his words lost in the wind. He became a hunted man, a ghost in the machine, forever running from the shadows that stretched from Soylent's towering factories. But there was no escape. The world was already theirs. Despair and acceptance. As Soylent's control tightened, a chilling apathy settled over the masses. The bars, laced with an unknown substance, dulled their senses, their minds becoming as blank and flavourless as the food they consumed. Hope withered, its light extinguished by the overwhelming darkness. They shuffled through their days, empty shells of their former selves, their humanity devoured by the very corporation that claimed to save them. A chilling future. The earth groaned under the weight of its horrifying truth. The sky wept, a mournful dirge for a species consumed by its own insatiable hunger. The future stretched before them, bleak and unforgiving, a testament to the cycle of consumption, corruption, and the chilling reality that in the end we are all but meat. The feast had begun, and we were both the diners and the dish.